Welcome back to the Fractal Labs YouTube channel. I'm Alexis Mercedes and I'm the project manager for Fractal Labs. We are an XR app development company, and the first step is learning all that augmented reality and VR have to offer. If you want to know what the OVR app can do for you, this is the video to watch. We are gonna visit OVR live experiences across 3 different states and see what happens, as well as do some experimentation, and you can follow along now. The first thing I did was search for live experiences. The phone app really can only tell you if there's an experience live nearby. If I switch to the website from my desktop or laptop, I can see the number of hexes that have been sold in an area. But when I zoom in, it's not necessarily going to show me something live, just sold. In this glob of purchased hexes on an overpass, there were several scenes live, so I had to go check it out, and I'll show you the footage and you can just witness what was there on your own. I think the outdoor aspect of using Overland versus, say, anything on the Oculus is such an asset. We are going to be able to use these tools for public health. Getting people outside and walking is essential. What I don't know for sure is if this was designed specifically for right here on top of the Burnside Bridge, or if it was designed and then kind of just scattered around or published wherever. Because there were multiple live experiences nearby, I had to check out at least another. I love that there are multiple pieces of artwork, that there are different styles, that one includes animation, and that the items that should be floating are floating, and the items that should be on the ground are on the ground. That match up of confirming the point of where the ground is with where the ground corresponds to the 3D assets that have been published is working really well here, working really well for this person. I liked that. I thought that was pretty cool. Attached to the same blob of purchased hex and just under the very bridge I was standing on is a very famous skate park. And sure enough, that's where the other set of live experiences were. Once I got down there, it was very obvious that these did belong to the same creator, and it was really fun to see their art in a different setting. It also reinforced the idea that this is not necessarily built for this particular space, which, we will start to see happening once mapping is a thing. But as of right now, June of 2022, it just really isn't. And we actually couldn't stand directly on top of the land because it was in the skate park. So even here, we weren't truly experiencing it live because we would have interrupted the skateboarders. We had to get super duper close to it and then see the name and view it remotely immediately next to. What do you think about that? Here in Vancouver, we didn't know what we were gonna find. This park was called the Waterworks, And as we approached, we discovered it was a skate park. That seems very on brand for crypto artists to display their work at a skate park. Very grungy, very alt, and punk. Truly, and crypto is very punk.
We also discovered that this live experience links to someone's OpenSea page, so you can buy the artwork that you see presented here. Super cool to see that working, especially, live. This is another scenario where I couldn't actually get the experience to load live because I would have had to stand on the skate park and been in everyone's way. So just like at the other skate park, I, got really, really close to it and then actually loaded it remotely.
In Portland, I built a reality on some stairs.
Unlike any other live experiences, this one is not on the ground. The surface of the moon is way up high, and the only thing I can figure out, because I did do troubleshooting, is that one of the assets is a window that I tried to manipulate and use as a door. I don't know how or why that would have that effect, though. The one way I found we can manipulate the objects that are published in our AR experience is by playing with the light. When I move my hand across the sky, the objects react. So maybe something cool can be done with that.
If you want to see how I built this land, stay tuned for the next video. I'll go into depth there where we talk about 3D files in general, and as a case study, I apply them to using the OVR Builder app.
Although I own these hexes up the Tabor stairs continuously, I can't experience the OVR live experiences in a continuous manner. I'd have to load and reload every time I switch hexes, which again might be something that changes once mapping is part of our progress. This last scene is at the top of the mountain, and this is the scene I created. The names of all the lands, including this one, will be included so you can use these experiences remotely or in person.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, so you just experienced your first overland experience. What's your first reaction?
Crazy. I've never seen anything like it.
Same, it's like takes you to another world in a way. Just the freedom of just creating your own thing in your own environment.
For me, the most important thing moving forward is that if I own multiple hexes in a row, my experience should be able to extend across them. Right now, you have to reload each time. So owning just one hex in a space, having that be the starter place where they load it, and then walking away, you can make the experience as big as you want. So it's actually a disadvantage to put segments of the same experience in a row. Like, you wouldn't want to grow the size of the experience by adding more hexes. I guess the best thing to do would to have completely different experiences with different starting places, even if they're all next to each other. So it's like, stand here, this experience will load, and then you can walk around the entire space. And then when you stand here, this other experience will load, and now you can walk around the entire space there, because you are not limited to the hex in your design that you're publishing.
To make sure we had a live experience to visit in Oakland, California, we bought the Hex at the pool of my motel, and I tried to publish some dolphins there, and I'll show you what happened. It took a really long time for the app to acknowledge that there was a live experience nearby, and this became a trend for a lot of the places that I went. Eventually, it did acknowledge it. I was able to load the experience, and I did see dolphins. However, half the dolphins were missing. I did place the objects so that some of the dolphins would be above the water and some of the dolphins would be below. But because the water is the same surface as the ground, none of the below ground dolphins appear. And I noticed that although I placed the dolphins in the center of the Hex, they didn't appear in the center of the pool like I had expected. I did try them non-remotely nearby though. But first I loaded someone else's remote experience just for the fun of it.
Viewing dolphins non-remotely, actually pretty cool.
Welcome to Lake Merritt. Here we attempted to create a series of signposts around the lake that would direct viewers from one to another. This might be used for, say, a scavenger hunt or a way to expand the environment of an art exhibit, or really the uses are endless. First, I just put the same asset in all of the spaces and then went and looked for them live. This basically worked. The desk was sitting on the ground and the image that I wanted displayed as if it were a screen was floating above it. However, the image is flipped. I was able to walk around to the back, but as you can see from the side view, it's clearly backwards. It's tilted to have a front. We can see it in the correct way from the back. And this ends up being the case for every single publication of this. Again, I posted this exact same object in several places around the lake. And as far as that went, the results were all the same.
Now that's pretty cool.
By posting the same publication in multiple hexes, I could confirm that if it's going to appear correctly on the ground, it's always going to correctly appear on the ground. Also, I confirmed that there isn't a cardinal direction associated with the hexes, so there's no way for me to pick where my 3D objects are going to show up when an experience is shown live. Only when it's remote and you can move it around does it end up in the right spot. The second iteration of this OVR Live was to try to make it place-based. We can't assign it a cardinal direction or make them point to one another. So the signpost idea was out the window. Instead, I tried to make it more place-based by using these hyacinth I found as inspiration to draw in the nature of the location, and of course to flip the sign around.
I also played with scale a little bit and ultimately left the scale exactly the same. I also added in a spotlight to kind of change the color of the light and see what that would do. Spoiler alert, the color of the spotlight didn't really seem to do anything at all. I never found a color change, and after taking a long time to find the live experience and load it, like I said, that was a trend. There was success. I mean, we see the sign flipped the correct direction, even though in the Builder app, it's in the wrong direction. And also our hyacinth are here. So I would call this a success. Yay! It looks the same in all of the locations. I didn't bother trying to connect them because we don't have that cardinal direction feature. The location within the hex is not related to any sort of cardinal direction, and that seems like an easy thing that they can add. So that when you're publishing a land, you can orient the experience to the cardinal directions. That might be the next step, because it would be easier to solve than occlusion, which is super important and awesome. It's just that occlusion seems like a lot harder to solve than assigning cardinal directions. That would really make a big difference. Also, whenever I'm publishing a PNG, it always is flipped when I view it from my phone. But when I looked at it through my boyfriend's phone using the exact same OVR app, it wasn't flipped. It was the correct side. As well as my PNG that had a transparent background, when I'm using the OVR app, I can always see it. The edges, the transparent edges, they're not transparent. It gives it a whitish background for the full file to square it off. But it is just a floating moon without a square around it when my boyfriend was viewing it. So I don't know what's up with that. In summary, we have a long way to go before non-remote experiences are superb to using the exact same experience non-remote, because the only difference between viewing it remote and viewing it on site is that you can't, when it's on site, you can't turn it. You can't adjust how you see it. So even on site, it's better to load it remotely than to load it while you're there. The ways I can see to make an experience site specific at the moment is to find ways to mirror that landscape in your AR design itself. A question I'm left with is, do I be on a walking trail or off the walking trail? Because when I'm standing in the walking trail trying to do the experience, there's bikes coming at me, there's people walking by, there's people who are concerned that maybe they're being filmed because I'm looking at the world through my phone. But if I go off path, then I'm standing in a place I'm not supposed to. I think maybe not on a bike path because it felt dangerous, y'all. Thanks again for watching. If you want to collaborate on a video or an OVR experience or maybe even a Twitter campaign, we are here. Collaboration is our #1 value, and we love learning from other people and creating new things. Definitely, if I've made a mistake about anything, let us know. I want the constructive criticism. Bye for now.